A big thank you to all my friends at Washington Federal for sponsoring Zero to Social in 90 minutes. Business owners, call Washington Federal. I bet they can save you money on your credit card processing. We're going to talk a little more about some of the specific platforms, and what Shauna mentioned is really important, the idea that your company needs to have a personality on any of these platforms that you're on. And that may sound a little more tricky than it is. We'll show you a few examples of how it's easy to have a personality on Twitter. I want to start by talking about Facebook. It is the big platform in social media. Started in 2004, really went big in 2005 when it went international. 1.1 billion users on Facebook. It's characterized by a couple of different things. Likes, pokes were big with Facebook early on. Thank God they've gone away. Did anybody ever figure out what a poke was for? I really never quite understood that. You were limited to 5,000 friends because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have very many friends apparently, so he wants to keep it down for everybody else. This is a great platform for a lot of different companies. We're going to talk about who it's for. Here's an example, one example of a user of Facebook that's a small company, Molly Moon. It only has 3 ice cream shops in Seattle. It just opened one at University Village. That's why it says Village Life is about to get a little bit sweeter. Very small team dealing with the Molly Moon Facebook accounts. But what they do is they respond to every person who puts a comment on their page. If you're going to put up a social media page, you have got to have somebody monitor it when there's something that pops up. They respond to every comment, and including one where someone says, "Congratulations on opening the store. Is it true that you don't make your ice cream from scratch? Who's your supplier?" Their response, they could have deleted that, but they didn't. Never delete negative comments. Instead, just respond to them in a very mature way as they do. They say, "That's not the case. We make all of our ice cream from scratch with 90% of our ingredients coming from local farmers." Perfect answer. It's not snarky. It's the right tone. So again, I like Molly Moon as an example on Facebook because they do respond to absolutely everybody. Yeah, that takes time. It really does. But if you're going to be on Facebook and all these platforms, you really do have to make the effort. Aaron, who do you like on Facebook?
I'm going through it right now.
Okay.
I'd say in terms of liking local businesses, if you're having conversations with me, even if I don't even know or like your particular business, I'll become friends and I'll like that in particular thing. So my entire Facebook portfolio is full of all these companies and local companies that again, it's those engaged conversations. And I can tell you, like, Hotel Max had an incredible social media manager in Jen Joyce a couple years ago when we were all in there, and we had so many engaged conversations with her, really changed the dial for Hotel Max just literally 2 blocks up the road, and really got me to understand their capabilities. And seriously, the Fairmont back in the day when we were engaging with Heather and having conversations, it's really those conversations are critical to the mix. I'd say Molly Moon's definitely in terms of my expertise and understanding who they are. Bill the Butcher does a heck of a job. I know they've got someone managing their entire portfolio. She is all over the place, sending stuff to you all 24/7. Y'all know a coffee company called Storyville? Anyone heard of that recently? Who's heard of Storyville Coffee? All right. They've got an incredible social media presence and engaged platform to get engaged. If you haven't heard about Storyville yet, I'm a fan of theirs. I'm a huge coffee drinker. I'm at Starbucks every single morning, 24/7 in what I do and live and breathe. But they've got a sort of a grassroots approach to trying getting out there, and you could sort of follow them in really getting started. They opened up their first store here at the Pike Place Market in October, and they've got this really aggressive growth platform. In terms of national conversations, y'all complain about airlines, right? Who hasn't complained about their travel? Ever, right? My flight, it delayed, whatever. You've all said something in real life, and I bet you the 5% of us that are really in tune with Twitter have always complained about their travel. And I recently went on a trip to New York. I've got 3 little kids, all under the age of 7. And for some reason, Delta decided to split us all up on the aircraft. And I only realized this 3 hours before my flight. And so I called customer service on the phone for a good 45 minutes. And I'm just pissed. I'm not going to let my 4-year-old on a red-eye to New York sleep by herself on this flight. And so they said you're going to have to deal with it at the airport. And as a dad of 3 little kids, I said, screw you, I'm not going to deal with it when I get to the airport. You're going to see me now or deal with it later. Well, I ended up DMing them. And they said right away, instantaneously respond, said, give me your flight information. And they corrected the situation. And within 5 minutes of after getting off the phone on customer service, I resorted to Twitter, DM them, and they resolved my issue. So companies that are doing that customer service unique things in social, it doesn't have to be Twitter, it's wherever they are really pushing the boundary. And I'd say we, as Seattle, are sort of leading that curve. Alaska Airlines is another great user of customer service across the board. And as small businesses, the fact that you all are in here listening to a conversation in social suggests that you're interested in engaging in those conversations as you expand. So it's just taking those top-level tips and creating things in your day that allow you to respond to things like that. I can't tell you, we were a small company. We've got 13 full-time staffers, and for the last 5 years or so, I've been managing the Fury Group sort of behind the scenes social media. Finally, we've got a team in place that is doing that, but as a small business owner, I've been behind watching all those things across the board. So it's just living and breathing. It's not rude in this day and age to be on a stage, on a panel discussion on social media, to actually be engaging with you all during the conversation. So if you all have any questions or comments to me, feel free to tweet at me during this conversation. I'll raise it. It's at Aaron Blank. I think it was on earlier. Just, I encourage you to tweet at me during this as well. I'll help you to talk about it.
And we also do have cards on your table. I'm getting a few questions. If you have questions, specific ones to your business, write them down and we will get to those at the end. Shauna, with Facebook, how does a company that's very small get likes? You sit there for a lot of time and you've got like 20 likes. Now I'm up to 22, big deal. How do you get a lot of momentum moving on Facebook?
Facebook can be a tougher one for businesses. It's, people like to fill their feed with friends, not so much, companies. One thing that, worked really well for us at Decide, well, first of all, we had this group that we called an insiders group. And this is the group that we innovated around on our product level. They were private Facebook groups. We had 3 of them, so we could do ABC testing and we could connect with these people, and we really considered them like our family. They had direct access to our investors, which was Howard Schultz's team at Mavron, Madrona, and then Paul Allen's team at Vulcan, as well as everybody in the company. So we were completely transparent with these insiders. And we had about 600 of them, so not only were they in our insiders group, but they were very active on our Facebook page as well. So for us, that was a way to have a smaller but very active community, a private part of it, and then on our Facebook page as well. But we did, we actually did a decent amount of paid promotion through Facebook, and that actually worked really well with the right kind of messages. So again, it wasn't all just selling. It was, although we did do some promotions and had a lot of success with that. But I think Facebook can be a little bit harder for businesses, and you really have to keep it in your company voice and adding value, and then the people that you like will come find you. I'm also on the board of KUOW, one of our local NPR stations, and I would say that they're doing a great job too. I think it's another news station, but aside from Cairo, it's really the only one, and King, it's the only ones that I actually follow in my feed. I think all of you guys are doing a great job. And it's not easy to be in there, but.
I agree with you that I think Facebook isn't necessarily a place for a business to begin, but one company that does it really well, I think, is King5, and Yvonne has an example of a Facebook post from last week.
Our business is a little bit different than a lot of other people's business. A lot of people get their news from Facebook and Twitter, and seriously, that's the only place they get it. So we publish several times a day. I would say upward of 25 to 35 times a day on our Facebook page. We have a whole team that publishes, but we have a similar philosophy. Also, we have an abundance of content because we are a TV station, news website. Some people don't have access to as much content as we do, but one thing that we really like to do is share our user content. People email us, post photos on our Facebook page, send us messages, tweet to us, call us, and everybody has a story. And it's really fulfilling for our team to be able to tell someone else's story in a way that resonates with the rest of our community. You'll probably all remember last week it was 11, 12, 13, and we kind of made a big deal about it. We like to have fun with our community because we feel that there are many times that we have to tell them some pretty serious things that are, not always easy to handle. But if we build sort of a fun rapport with them, it's easier for them to feel like when they come to our Facebook page or our Twitter that we're there for them, that we're all in this together. So this is a photo that someone sent us of their newborn baby that was born on 11, 12, 13, and I think this was sent by Dad. And Dad said, here is new baby with older baby that was born on 8, 9, 10. And as you can see, the photo itself is extremely compelling. I mean, the cute factor here is like off the charts. Our amazing social media producer, Jen King, just did a little bit of tweaking to the photo. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, there's our logo. And she made it really easy to know what's going on here by adding born 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, 13. And she posted probably a 2-paragraph story on her website with a little bit more information. That's the link in there. Short, sweet, you're flipping through your phone. Aaron would have stopped on that. Aaron would have
I did.
That's awesome, yeah. And as you can see here, the reach of this post, 427,000 people saw this post. As of this morning, was 432,000. The engagement on this post is off the charts. Let's see.
How important are the numbers to you?
Well, how important are the numbers? There's a lot of different numbers, and some numbers are more important than the others. And I would say our team is like, we're really glad that we're hitting 125,000 fans, but that's not the number that's really important to us. The number is how many of those fans are engaged. If you look on Facebook pages, you'll see the number of fans in really big letters, and then right next to it, there's another number. It's like, don't even know what it says, talking about.
Yeah.
You can have like 500,000 fans, but if you're talking about number as 20,000, people liked you and then walked away,
These are small businesses. They would like 20,000 people to be talking about
Okay,
them.
but let's say you have 1,000, but you have 900 or 800 or 750 of them talking about you. You have a really dedicated core fan base of people who are advocating for you, sharing your content. So yeah, at the 125 or 20,000 is great, but what you really need to start focusing on is how many people are sharing your content, commenting on your content, liking your content. And this is an example of some of your content can come from those people. I mean, everybody up here knows, and anybody in the audience who's friends with me knows, if you're friends with me on Facebook, get ready for your stuff to be on the King 5 Facebook page, because we really like to share other people's stories. So I know a lot of you are real estate agents. Your clients have stories. You can share them.
And that relates to a question that we have from a mortgage broker in the house who asks, is it smart to post a status for every closed loan with a shout out to the borrowers and listing the photo? Aaron?
Did they sign anything that says you could do that? I think that's a good question.
So would you, who asked this question? Go ahead. Did the person sign a disclosure form saying that was okay with them?
I run a small PR shop, and so if I was counseling someone, I would say make sure it's part of a contract that they sign before they even start with you. That's just in language that says you can post this wherever. I have a friend in Connecticut. I went to school in Connecticut, so if I were to buy a house in Connecticut, I'd use her because she just consistently posts pictures of these people in front of their houses. It looks like she's just kicking butt in the amount of houses she's been selling. In her Facebook channel, and it's all about these houses. But I would say yes if you've just got a little clearance to protect you, because it's private information, people going to you for that information.
And be really thinking about, the point of what Yvonne just talked about is this was not their content. This was not something King 5 created. It was something that was sent to them that they, in essence, made their content. And pictures do really well on Facebook especially. So if you can take a picture that's somehow related to your business, even if it's not directly related, if it's linked in some way, then you've really scored on that.
And Yvonne, you've been asking people whether or not you could use their information, or are you still doing that?
Yeah, I mean, people will post on our Facebook wall, and we figure that's permission for us to share on Facebook. But a lot of times we'll then say, do you mind if we share it on Twitter or Instagram or on the air? We have some Instagram initiatives where we make it clear that if you tag us in a certain way, your photo may be on the air or on Facebook or Instagram. But we really, really, really try to ask permission. And part of that is it's just common courtesy. But the other part is everyone is thrilled when you're telling them, hey, your photo's going to be on TV. You might want to watch.
I love that. We're going to move on to Twitter, which I think is easier for almost any business to get in on. And Twitter started in 2006. It has fewer active users, 200 million. It's characterized by retweets and tweets, and we know there's a 140 character limit. And the hashtag came about from Twitter. We have other platforms using it. You see people using a hashtag on Facebook, kind of doesn't do anything. It's only for Twitter and Instagram as well. It's kind of morphed into becoming a social commentary. So people use the hashtag as kind of a clever way of saying something, but it really is a good search tool if you're a business. That's how they're going to find you. I want to give you this example of a great Twitter page, I think. It's REI. And REI's bio, I mean, there's a great picture of a mountain. It instantly says who they are. REI's bio says, we are a member-owned co-op 1938. Woo! We give you gear, guidance, and inspiration to get outdoors. And then there's a link to their photo website. That little tiny thing about talking about how, whoa, that's kind of cool. We've been around since 1938, shows a lot of personality. This bio is entirely directed to the person who would be using the Twitter stream. It's not about us. Here we are, REI, we are so significant. It's about what they do for you. They give you gear to get outdoors. That's simple, it's fun, it shows personality. So I want to talk about Twitter for a little bit as a platform, and Yvonne has another example we'll go to right away from King 5 of a Twitter. Yeah, you got it.
Some of you might remember a couple of weeks ago we had this big power outage in Seattle. At one point, 43,000 people were without power, and every single one of them was tweeting us, asking us, when is power going to be on in my house? We weren't able to respond directly to each and every one of them, but we were doing our best to get information from them. And so there were only two of us in the newsroom, our web producer who was writing up a story and trying to keep the outage map updated, and me. And you know, you can only tell people so much. We don't know when your power is going to be back. So, but we had to keep talking to people because, again, they were all tweeting us. Seattle City Light was busy restoring power, not tweeting or Facebooking. So, you know, lights were out and everything, and I was like, okay, you guys be careful, you know, there's pedestrians and stuff. And so this was like maybe the 5th tweet I had written, in which I said, you know, remember if you're driving in power outage areas, some traffic lights may be out. Watch for pedestrians, be careful. And in my head, I said, love, Mom. And I went, whoa.
That wasn't intentional?
Well, it just came to me
It's
like,
just your
love, Mom,
personality.
because I'm like, it kind of sounded a little patronizing before the love, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be patronizing, but come on, let's take care of each other. So I turned to my teammate, and I'm like, what do you guys think? Or I think there was 2 other people there, and they said, yeah. So we did it. And it kind of worked because it was like basically saying, we're here to take care of you, we're here to take care of each other. Sometimes I have those things in my head and I'm like, nah, I'm not writing that down. But this was one where I kind of just said, yeah, it's okay, I'm gonna write this down. And what it shows here is that we're human and we're paying attention to the fact that you don't have power and you're kind of freaking out. And we're gonna help you get through it, because we're your mom.
I want to show one more example of King 5's Twitter use, because this happened just during the games very recently. And again, it shows that you can have a lot of personality in a very simple way. I guess if you've got the right personality.
How many of you watched the game yesterday? And how many of you watched a game with another screen? Either Twitter, Facebook, or you're texting your friends or whatever. Sports is really big in what we call the second screen. or a third screen, or in some cases fourth screen. Sports is really a social thing. And so one of the things that we do at King 5 is, even though most of the Seahawks games are aired by one of our competitors, we know that our social community is really gonna be watching the game. And so our main account watches the game with them while our sports account is doing the play-by-play. And there's always a fine line between, oh, are we talking about sports too much? But that's what everyone's talking about. So we kind of talk about sports, and at halftime we'll do a few other things. So yesterday I was running the Twitter, and I can't remember what a catch it was, because there were so many what a catches yesterday.
Had to be Percy Harvin.
Yes,
What a
I think
catch.
it was, yeah. And I got a reply back from a woman who says, I have to unfollow you because of sports. And I'm like, oh, she was kind enough to tell us she was unfollowing us, so I need to respond to her. At which point I said, you can mute us until the end of the game, because you can mute certain accounts on Twitter. And then her response is, you guys. And it was so sweet. I wish you could see this. I tweeted back to her, flowers for you. And it was a link to a user photo that was on our website of flowers. And that's when she said, Bat's eyelashes. I think she thought I was flirting with her, which I kind of was, you know. And she says, you won me back, I'll go make the guac. And what was funny was, as she was telling me she was making the guacamole, I was tweeting a picture of Seahawk nachos, just coincidentally made by one of our reporters. So I looked at her profile later, I followed her. She has quite a fewer followers than King 5. We have like 68,000, she had like 20. But you know what? She and I are bonded for life. Yes, we are.
And that's what the big guys do on Twitter. You respond to everybody. Now, with how many followers do you have now, King?
It's like 67,000
Okay,
or
so
67,000.
67,000.
And the truth is we cannot respond to everyone, but if someone is very specific in their request or what they want, we try.
Do you read all your replies?
I'm hoping that somebody
I
does.
bet somebody does.
I mean, we have a big team, so yeah.
The way to get somebody's attention on Twitter is that little @ sign. If you put it in front of their name, that message will pop up in their feed and they'll definitely see it. Otherwise, yeah, when you've got a lot of different followers, it's hard to keep track of what people are saying and keep the conversation going. Aaron, anything to add about Twitter as a platform? Anything you regret doing on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
Now we're talking.
I could give you a real-world example of a couple. It was back in 2008, I think, when we all started talking on Twitter. And there's a Seattle Magazine editor in town, and we joke about this conversation today, but I was on her A-list of people that she would just send information to, and it was information about some staffing changes, and I knew nothing about it. So at the time, if you remember, I was tweeting stuff out about the local news media in town and just conversations, and so I just tweeted out there, well, I set off a fireworks storm. She was so pissed off at me around the fact that I share information that I thought was to external people that would be okay to share, but it wasn't. We've since joke about that. I sent her a nice mug and had coffee with her about 6 months ago, actually, and put a little Twitter bird on it and said, I tweet you or something. But I, just in general, Twitter, I would say find 5 people that you want to engage with and develop relationships with them. I bet you there are 5 people at your table today that could become your tweet buddies to help you engage in conversations going forward, get to know them. And over time, you just never know what you'll do. We've Ann Peavy sent me a tweet just now and asked me a quick question around SM Lunch, and I think that this would be a good place to say that we formed a community called Social Media Lunch. Social Media Club's great evening, once a month activity. And for me, with kids, I can't really go to morning or evening events, so I tend to smack something in the middle of my day. So we ended up 4 years ago putting a tweet out saying, anyone want to meet up for lunch at Five Guys Burgers in Renton, and 25 people showed up just because of Twitter. So then we knew we were onto something, and we ended up saying, well, let's do this on a monthly basis, and hashtag SM Lunch. We do a once a month get together, random spots around the community, and some of you guys attend. We just literally, it's all about networking. We get to meet people, have these conversations, take these conversations one step further, And that's all because of Twitter. It's all engaged. And you put a tweet up, and within 2 weeks, you've got 100 people showing up at a restaurant.
I think the one thing you'll find hard to believe until you really start to use Twitter is you will make lifelong friends in real life from what happens on social media, and especially through Twitter. I want to talk real quickly about two other platforms. We've got a lot of questions, so I want to make sure we get to your specific questions. Something happened with social media in 2010 because it became very visual. Pinterest came on board in 2010, so did Instagram. Pinterest was first. Pinterest has about 70 million users, but 80% of them are female. So if you have an audience that has some kind of product that you think women should see, Pinterest might be a place for you to be. It's also very visual. Pinterest uses boards and pins. An example of a Pinterest page is Starbucks, which I think is kind of interesting because Starbucks has 35 million likes on Facebook. With all their social media, Starbucks reaches 1.9 million people. That's 1/7 of the world's population. But on Pinterest, Starbucks isn't really promoting anything specifically related to their coffee. They're not selling coffee, they're selling community. These 4 files here, these are the boards. Think of it like a bulletin board. If I click on handcrafted, you see what Starbucks has posted related to that. And it's really just acknowledging, hey, you like homemade things. We consider ourselves to be a homemade coffee company. That kind of connection is very rare. I think it's interesting they would use Pinterest this way. Shauna, you mentioned Nordstrom had success with Pinterest. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, anytime, one thing that I've realized is anytime a new platform comes out and you can be the first somehow. So if you can watch trends or follow people who are if you're not that involved in digital media, but you can follow people who are. And it's really important to just try out the different platforms as they come. So I just was really early on Pinterest, and over the weekend I opened up a Nordstrom account, and on weekends I would update it for Nordstrom because I couldn't justify it yet to have a new team member on to just manage that channel because it was just so new. But we were the first company on Pinterest, and so then you get all of these followers and all of this momentum from just being the first because as people come on there, you're one of the only people that they see, and the only company at that point. So we very quickly added thousands and thousands and thousands of followers as people realized how amazing Pinterest was. So, and what was interesting about it for Nordstrom is we had tried to insert product into the Facebook stream. We even tried to do it where you could check out without even going to the Nordstrom site on a Facebook page, and it just didn't work. People don't want to shop on Facebook. You don't want to shop in your news feed, or most people didn't. But what we realized with Pinterest is we share things that we love and photos there, and it was translating directly into sales. So not only were we having fun with it, and we were getting thousands and thousands of followers, but it was finally what we considered to be a channel that actually had results as far as sales, and a lot of sales. I mean, it was really fun to kind of see that as engagement and as followers ramped up, sales were through the roof from Pinterest.
With Pinterest, you can actually have a price tag right on whatever you're trying to display, so it's really easy for people to see what an item may cost. Pinterest is a very simple social media platform. You can put links on there. Most people don't. It's just a lot of pretty pictures, and it makes me feel inferior because most of those pictures of homes, absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure really what Pinterest's future is. If you have a very visual company, if you're a home designer, if you're a home stager, that might be a great place for you to be. But even bigger than Pinterest is Instagram, which again came on the same year. It came on after Pinterest. It has already eclipsed Pinterest. It's got 150 million users, characterized by square pictures and square video. It will square everything, whether you want it to or not. You can do filters really easily. And the hashtags show up again on Instagram. You'll see them throughout the platform. Here's an example of an Instagram page. This is from Trophy Cupcake. They're all their pictures. If you click on a cupcake, you will see just a close-up, really simple. There's not a lot of description to it. There is the hashtag, does a booty good. I don't think that's true. Not only that, it's kind of an ineffective use of a hashtag. We were talking about how it's just become a social commentary to put those hashtags up. They're cute, they're clever, but if this business would have gone one step further and actually put cupcake in there, someone could have discovered Trophy Cupcake because there was a lot of discovery going on with those hashtags. So it's tempting to be really clever with them, but I think you have to really kind of realize there's a point to being on social media, so you might as well make the point. There are so many other social media forums that we're not even going to get to today, but I want to mention them. Most of you are on LinkedIn, which is great. Keep in mind, if you're like a real estate company, you can probably find clients that way. So don't be afraid to use LinkedIn to promote what you're doing. I think that's one platform where people would expect it. Tumblr is a way to kind of reblog pictures, and it's very simple. YouTube would be great if you're a real estate company. We're used to seeing pictures of perfect homes, but I would love to see if a real estate person would actually go through a home and show me what it really looks like and put that up as a YouTube video. YouTube is like the second largest search engine. It's huge. Google Plus. I don't really get it. I'm on it. I've got all these followers on Google Plus. I think it's really more for a male audience, and I'll let you talk a little bit about that, Aaron. And the other sign there is the Snapchat picture. You're not 13-year-old boys or girls, so you're not on Snapchat. You're not going to use it as your business, but it is out there. Aaron.
Okay, so Google Plus. I really only got Google Glass 2 weeks ago. I'm just starting to play with it to understand it. I hate Google Plus. I absolutely am a Google.
And why do you hate it? Because I hate it too. I think
complicated.
It's very complicated.
You just don't understand it. And Google products are they're not intuitive. And to force myself to understand Google World, I'm wearing this, and I'm learning how all their things interact with each other. And as a search engine world, and you've worked for Google a little bit, so you could probably give us some insights into this, but the sphere of influence with YouTube, I mean, they own YouTube. So the next generation of all where we're going, your little smartphones, forget about them. 5 years from now, we're all going to be wearing devices that will be the future of technology. So this conversation in 5, 10 years down the road will be around this watch that I'm wearing. I'm going to be talking to that will say picture, upload to Google Plus, and boom. I just did that earlier as a test. I'm linked to my Google channels. I tried tweeting it out. Again, it's the cumbersome of Google. I can't figure it out yet. I need more time in my day to figure out Google Plus, which I will. I'll get through it, and then I'll be able to coach people. But the biggest thing is it's around what is search engine optimization and how it's linked to social media. And that's where I think Google Plus plays into the sphere, and that's what they're telling me. I've yet to see that, and I'm working at trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste my time trying to figure out Google Plus. Somebody will, but you don't have to. It's not going to help your business that much.